Alright, so you've been introduced to input. Now we have to go over one more thing before we dive into a challenge that I have for you. And what we need to cover here is types. So a type, for example, would be string. So the string is when you have quotes and anything in between those quotes, anything at all, any symbols of any kind. This is one giant string that has many symbols inside of it. That's all it is. So when you have a string, it is not a number type. There's a number type and it has just numbers. There's also Boolean, which is capital T true and capital F false. Those are the two values of Boolean. There's only two. So if we want to make a new variable, and let's try to make it, let's just call it fun boolean. We'll set it to true. And then let's make another variable called fun string. We'll set that to this is a fun string. And then we'll say fun float, and we'll set it to 234.7. All these values have been stored in the computer when you run this. Obviously nothing happens, but if we print all of these out, let's print out fun boolean. They can print out as though they are strings. When this boolean is stored in the computer, it's a 1 or a 0. When this string is stored in the computer, it's stored as a string of characters, individual characters. And when this number is stored in the computer, it's stored in a way that allows you to do mathematics so that you can work with other variables. So if we go down below this couple lines, and we want to do fun float, it's a floating point number, plus fun string, we can't do that. If we try to assign it to, let's say, another variable, let's set that equal to fun float plus fun string. Let's try to run that and first print out what another variable is. Let's see what happens. You cannot add a float with a string. It just doesn't work like that. So it's saying right here, it says unsupported operand types for the plus operation. So we're doing a plus operation. We're trying to add these two, but they have to be the same type. If you tried to add two strings together, for example, let's add another string here instead. Say fun float. Well, you could say literally fun float, but let's say, yeah, let's just say yellow. Yellow, this is a fun string. So just added yellow to what we had in the string. But if we go back to having the float and we want to add a number like 5, it's not going to say 234.75. That's not how it works. It knows these are mathematical values. So the plus operation is going to treat them as numbers. So if we run that, we get true 239.7, which is the correct value mathematically. If, for example, this was just a string, and we say fun string, fun instead of fun float, and we say literally we want the string of just the 5 character to be added to 234.7, it would not do math on this operation. It would just combine the strings, and then you would have 234.75, which is not mathematically true. It's just going to add the string to the end of the existing string. It's going to add the character 5 after 7. So this is just a quick introduction to types, and you have to be aware of this. You can convert types from one to another. This is an important thing to know. Let's say you have a user who inputs a fun string and you want to turn it into a number. One way to do that is to type float and then put parentheses around it, and that turns it into a number from a string. So this number is turning into what fun float is actually. So let's see what happens when we do that. We have an error because this is now being seen as an actual number and you can't add it to the string. So let's turn this into a number. Or you could also just do the same thing here, float 5, and it will turn it into a number. Now you're getting the true mathematical value given just strings. Quick tip, if you want to clear what you see down here, just type clear, hit enter, and it will clear everything out. So I'm going to give you a quick tip here before we get to the challenge. The quick tip is how to make comments. So you're going to type the hashtag and you're going to just type whatever you want. You can just make a sentence to explain yourself here in English, and it does not have to be code. It can be anything you want. It can be the line. It can be the line below is my favorite line ever. And then you can say print hi. So that's just a way to comment in your code. It has nothing to do with how the program runs. Okay, so here is the challenge. First you're going to get an input for the width of a rectangle, then you're going to get the input for the height of a rectangle, then you're going to do some math with it to determine the area, then you're going to show the results. So if you want a hint, I'm going to show you one more thing here, and that is when you're doing a print statement, you can go ahead and do multiple values with commas, like hello there. And when you run it, it will say hello there. This is true also with variables. So if you want to say variable, hi, you can also put variables in here along with strings. It doesn't have to be of just string type though, it can be a number. And you'll see hello 4. That's something else you may need to know about just to do the fourth step here. So knowing that, feel free to get started and pause the video. Alright, if you feel like you've got it complete or you don't know if you've got it complete or not, I'm going to go ahead and start showing you a few things here, and maybe you will have an epiphany and you can go ahead and pause at any time and go ahead and fix your code to see if it works. But I'm going to show you how to do step 1, which may be one of the hardest steps. Step 1 and step 2 are essentially the same, but we need to make a variable. I'm just going to call it width, and then we're going to set it to an input of just telling the user please enter the width, colon, and this would be correct if you were entering strings into the width and you wanted this string, if you wanted the width to be a string. However, we are working with numbers, and the secret thing you did not know about inputs potentially is that they are always strings, and if you want anything besides a string, you have got to enter float to turn it into a number if you want to turn it into a number. So we're going to enter in float here, and this will give you the number value of the width. So let's go ahead and copy this to make the height. And so far we can test out to make sure everything's working still. 4, 5, looks like it's all working. Just gonna clear this. Step 3, let's actually create another variable to determine the area. So we're gonna say area equals width times height. And then we just have to print it out, print area. But one thing you may want to do is just explain to the user what this is, and you can do that with a comma and just make another string in here that says the area is, you don't have to have a space in there, the comma, when you separate them with commas here, this goes into the print and the print automatically puts in the space for you. So let's test this out. Please enter the width, 5. Please enter the height, 8. The area is 40. It looks like a decently useful program, but I could have just done that with a calculator. However, you are making progress. Believe me, this is a really pivotal moment because you are now capable of taking input, calculating something, and giving an output. That's amazing. So let's go ahead and move on to our next video.